So when you're shooting a pistol and you have one hand off the gun and you're running, usually you keep the gun up, right? Just so when you get to a target, you don't have to like bring the gun in or like bear down on it when you're shooting a match. You want the shortest distance. So with a carbine, you should do it the exact same. And this is cool because it's a lightweight gun. It's easier for a lady. But try to keep that gun up so that way every time you come on, it's already there. You don't have to bring it in. You could also run faster because you can pump your arms. Instead of like this dorky thing where you're trying to watch out for breaking the 180, like this is okay if it's a short movement. Any further movements, take a hand off and just run. And when you come up to a target, just present the gun in front of you. There's no reason to do things with it that are different than a handgun.
Like that?
Yeah, and like, I mean, don't be afraid to pump it too.
What do you mean pump it? Like
So
that?
Like
the moving motion, like you're running.
using it to get momentum for yourself.
Oh. Like that?
Yeah, and like the gun doesn't have to stay completely level. It's do something comfortable for you where you
Show
can
me.
move naturally. So like from here, it's like the gun can kind of come dip and come down. You don't need to keep it like completely level like this. For shorter movements, I would recommend it though. And if you do it every time, it's like, hey, you just saved a half second. You saved a half second. Well, that'll add up to a second and a half for each stage that you shoot. By the time you finish a match, you could be several seconds ahead.
Oh, okay.
So try to
It's like-
try to move more naturally. If anything, let the gun be either level or below level.
So that's
It-
right?
Yeah, it kind of looks a little awkward having it up like that. Like you just don't look comfortable.
I have strong hands.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, well, what helps too, and then also, so like let's say you're gonna stop right here to shoot these targets. Instead of running here and mounting the gun, as you're coming up into that position, and the more you do it, it'll kind of come natural. Like you're like, oh, I'm like 3 steps away. Start getting the gun, and then by the time you're in that shooting box or whatever it is, you're stable. Your gun is stabilized, and your body's stabilized and bled off momentum.
Yeah, that's what Taryn tells me all the time. I need
Yeah.
to like settle myself before so
Yeah.
I shoot faster
And-
because it takes me like a second.
And I think when I was getting started, I saw a video, it was actually with you, Taryn, and you were saying if you're doing 2 things at once, you're not wasting time. So anytime we're shooting, we have to move and we have to shoot. So you're not shooting, but you're getting your gun up and stable, coming into position, which is harder with the carbine. This third point of contact, it lets us shoot faster, it stabilizes the gun. But when we move, every step we take is transferring momentum into the gun. So by stabilizing yourself as you're coming in, you're saving that fraction of a second. And you have the gun up, so you don't have to bring it up or any of this weird stuff. And also, there's a good chance you could overshoot your target. When I'm snapping up really fast, I'm gonna see the target, my gun might come a little high and settle, or if I'm bringing down, it might bounce kind of the C or D zone and then come up. You just come straight out, you're already pointed at the alpha. Just look to where you wanna go, the dot goes there and you pull the trigger.
Here's a question. How much strength do you put on the weak hand on the forearm?
So that's highly dependent. I've seen some guys, they're pulling the gun back all with their right hand, and this is just to steer the gun. For me, it's about 50-50. What do you like to do, Taryn?
I have more torque on the left hand of the forearm than my right hand. If you get too tight with the right hand, you might get those trigger freezes.
Yep.
I put more strength on the left hand to hold it down, to just control it. Kind of like with the handgun.
Yep.
You know, my right hand isn't super tight. My left hand's a lot tighter. Yet I shoot one hand the same as I shoot both hands. So it really make no sense at this point. But I like to just control the front of the gun a little more. And it depends. I don't do the over-the-top, Chris Costa thing as much because I can't use the laser. I'm just kind of old school the way I hold it. But for me, it seems to work pretty good.
Cool.
What about you?
Yeah, like I said, about
50-50?
50-50. What I have found is if my hand is the same height as the barrel this way, the gun tends to stay pretty neutral. And that's whether it's an MPX, AR-15, AK. I try to hold the gun neutral, and instead of pulling the gun down to recoil, just lean forward and the gun settles.
How tight is it into your shoulder?
Fairly tight, just because I shoot a lot of guns, blowback PCCs, AKs, whatever. So I found if I just hold it tight and closer to my spine, so the gun doesn't have leverage to torque me to the side. If I'm out here on my shoulder, there's more leverage, probably twice as much, to push me to the side. If I come over on my pecs a little bit and kind of pull my shoulder around, and on the MPX, this really doesn't make a difference. You can hold this thing completely out here like this, and it's gonna shoot pretty darn good. When you start shooting guns without muzzle brakes, more powerful guns, you'll notice more of a dividend by doing this.
Well, it's a more forgiving gun. It's the softest shooting gun out there for PCC. The only disadvantage is it's a little bit fat.
Yep.
So we put this one on neutral systems, but as far as we can go, it's still heavier than the gun you got coming out with us. But I like the weight of this one right now.
Yeah, this is really nice. It kind of makes me want to mess with an MPX again. This is a crazy handguard, and this is something cool too. I feel like the more grip you can get around the handguard, the more you can control it. It's also just more comfortable for me.
Yeah.
Something happened to him, man.
That was the one thing about the MPX that first came out. I'm like, what the hell is this giant ash can monster super?
Yeah.
You know,
You can't get your hand around it.
super tanker forearm. But now that Smoke Composites made a forearm that makes it like a regular, and it's smaller than a regular AR. So it's perfect.
Yeah, and it's cool. This thing is super rigid. Like there is zero flex on this handguard.
Yeah, I just switched to this SIG. Other optics I was using in the sunlight at matches with the sun right in front of you, it was getting extra dots. I don't want to have like 2 or 3 giant red dots plus the one I'm supposed to shoot. Also, it gets the laser out of the way. So once in a blue moon, you use the laser to help around corners. If you got a really awkward shot, you don't want to go to your left shoulder because you hate that crap. And just this new stock is super lightweight, and this forearm, all this stuff together just really makes the gun almost like a regular blowback 9. But the advantage is you get the softer recoil of the MPX. The MPX, what's cool about it is you don't gotta load these hand-loaded little poofy rounds to feel like an MPX. The MPX is shoot factory, S&B, Fiocchi, whatever, Remington, Winchester, all of it shoots crazy soft in the gun.
And what we've noticed too is when you try and soft load the MPX, sometimes you'll get that reliability issue. The MPX actually runs a lot better.
Yeah, if you go too light, you go too light.
Yeah, it's so soft. There's no point gaming it.
But I shot your 100 grain stuff, and I shot Max Mundy's 100 grain in it, and it's like beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, it's amazingly soft, but I wouldn't trust it. For
It's
any type of
borderline like
competition.
it could have on a dirty day, cold day. It just have that just double feed. You got egg in your
That's
face.
exactly it.
Yep.
Better to have it more reliable.
Yeah. All right. So what's next for Dirty on a Good Somebody said have an announcer voice. So
Oh my god!
I love announcer voice.
We're so awesome.
for forensic pathologists.